Halloween is a series that overstayed its welcome well into the late 90s, about as long as Freddy and Jason stuck around. New things were on the horizon for the horror genre at the time, and there wasn't a lot left to be done with these slasher villains that hadn't already been done. Halloween in particular, at least in my mind, is like the horror genre's Rocky. It's the epitome of a low-budget, accidental masterpiece that could never be again duplicated quite the same way. To see it spawn a franchise of sometimes pretty goofy and far-out concepts surrounding Michael Myers was a little disheartening. Halloween spawned 7 sequels, one that doesn't feature Michael Myers. I want to say 2 that are sort of on par with the original. The rest have their entertaining moments like cool kill scenes, but didn't have too much else to offer. What really wore people out on Halloween was the 90s sequels. I can keep it as brief as this. In The Curse of Michael Myers, Michael's finished off by Paul Rudd beating him up with a pipe. In H2O, Laurie Strode kicks his ass up and down the block and then chops his head off. In Resurrection, it's explained that Laurie killed the wrong man who accidentally wound up in Michael's mask and jumpsuit, so that was their explanation for how another movie was even possible after the ending of the last one. And that film ends with Busta Rhymes, the rapper, beating up Michael Myers with a stick. So there was no longer a chilling atmosphere. The original Halloween makes you feel the cool October air when you watch it. The atmosphere touches you. In these later sequels, no atmosphere, no vibe. Michael Myers has been over-explained. You can see his eyes in most shots, which makes him look pretty doofy. It also takes away from the mystery. Is he a man? Is he a demon? Why can't he be destroyed? Oh, matter of fact, he can be destroyed. Just belt him with a fucking stick. For all these reasons, audiences lost interest, and the Halloween series was put to rest. Then in 2007, here comes Rob Zombie with his own retelling of the story. It's an origin story, as well as a remake of the first Halloween with Zombie's own twisted stamp on it, all packed in one. It succeeds at making Michael Myers scary again, but most hardcore Halloween fans seem to agree that showing how Michael Myers came to be who he is kinda does away with the mystery, and a lot of folks think that Michael is too out of character in this film anyways. He's too big, he's too vicious, he isn't as sneaky and subtle as he was in the earlier films with his killings, and now he's been over-explained. Not like there weren't other films that tried to over-explain a Michael Myers backstory, but this film dedicates half of its runtime to it. At the time, I agreed, this movie is too extreme, and it became sort of like a psychotic Halloween on steroids. Rob Zombie went on to do a sequel, where he really got to take creative control, do his own thing, and make a Halloween movie that was just, too plain fucked up and bizarre for most audiences, which is what Zombie likes to do. But doing it to Michael Myers sent the series right back to the grave. 2018 was the big revival for the franchise that, as far as I'm aware of, also created a new trend that's about to take Hollywood by storm: sequel remakes, which was the very concept that drew us to the flick. John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis returned to create a direct sequel to the original Halloween, pretending the sequels and the remakes never happened. Enough time had passed for audiences to miss Michael Myers. The time was right, the concept had pure intentions, and it was a massive hit. The really cool thing was, I remember around this time so many kids talking about going to see it just because it was the hottest thing on the planet that weekend. A lot of people my age who went out to see the movie told me they didn't even know who Michael Myers was, and that's a true revival. It was nostalgia for some, a new interest for others. This one did it all, and there's 2 more Halloween movies on the way because of its success. So this one brought the series back, doing what Rob Zombie's remakes failed to do. This one I enjoyed in the theater, but have mixed feelings about now. While I appreciate the success and proper intentions of this installment, which are qualities I look for in a sequel in general, if we were to pin the quality of Halloween '07 against Halloween 18, I've come to a new conclusion as to which film and which revival attempt for the series in general showed more effort and had the better ideas. A major achievement I don't think Zombie gets enough credit for actually has nothing to do with gore, brutality, or over-the-top violence. It's the creativity that went into his retelling of the story, as well as building on the affection we have for these characters and the fascination we have with Michael Myers. It's not like revealing how Michael Myers became a murderer was so unwarranted. Getting a glimpse of Michael's youth and showing that he started his killings from an early age was always a part of the story, with the way the original Halloween opens with Michael murdering his sister as a kid, and we hear all about how Dr. Loomis studied his behavior ever since he was locked up as a child. Now we simply get to see how that played out in its entirety, with some added detail that Zombie thought of, which I think is fitting and I really appreciate, like Michael's obsession with masks, wearing them religiously from a young age and creating hundreds of his own masks while locked away in the psycho ward. I love seeing how the relationship Dr. Loomis developed with Michael as a child unfolded, where in a sick sort of way, he was almost like a friend to him. I mean, you've heard about this, but now you get to see how it played out. To me, there's just thought that was put into this one that really makes it a worthy effort. Zombie struggled to do his own thing, while the studio constantly kept him in check to make sure he didn't step too far outside the box with his own ideas, and know what? Wherever they met in the middle works perfectly for me, because this film really entices me. Not in the same way the original does, but in its own way. Which is what its job was. Not to redefine, reinvent, or try to top the original, which could never be done, but just to offer a different perspective that's unique in its own way. For one thing, it's fucking scary. I mean, it really is. I'm a grown man. I'm obviously not scared of Michael Myers, but if I'm under the influence of a little something while watching this one in the dark, it genuinely scares me. To think there were so many Halloween movies that weren't scary sounds odd to even say, but there were. They were almost like action movies, like The Killer's here and we gotta fuck him up, or The Killer's here and we want to see him kill people because it's awesome. But Zombies' version, any way you want to look at it, makes the character horrific again, and this is a horror movie. It's the same character, same story, but at least there's fresh ideas here, and it's not just the same old fucking shit over again. There's creative chase sequences, like when Laurie Strode falls into an in-ground pool that's not filled with water while Michael's chasing her, or when Laurie Strode's hiding in the ceiling and Michael starts punching holes in the ceiling with a wooden plank to try and nail her. Zombie thought of some different shit. Halloween 18 thought of one, and I mean one creative sequence that we haven't seen before, in which Laurie Strode's granddaughter gets locked in the back of a police car with Michael Myers. Now, that'll generate some anxiety, but I gotta tell you, if there's one compliment we can give to Halloween 2018, it's that it had its heart in the right place, but the biggest criticism we can give to it is it's hopelessly uninspired. There is about next to nothing in this film that you haven't seen in other Halloween movies. Even the title is uninspired. Why the fuck would a sequel to Halloween be disguised as a remake? Just slap a fucking subtitle on it, for God's sake. It's a sequel to Halloween called Halloween. Fuck. For a film that pretends all the sequels never happened, it isn't much better than any of the sequels. It certainly isn't scarier, more inspired, or more creative than any of the Halloween sequels in any way. In fact, it just borrows a little piece from every one of them. There's a murder in a mechanic shop, like in Part 4. There's a murder in a bathroom stall, like in the remake. They set Michael on fire, like in Part 2. The plot itself really feels like a remake of H2O overall, except this time they basically made Laurie Strode like Sarah Connor. But it's the same concept.
That's enough. I can't take it, Mom. He's dead. Michael Myers is dead.
What do you want me to say?
That it's over? That we should try to get on with some attempt at a happy existence, Mom.
All this hiding, all this preparation, it was for nothing. I mean, it took priority over your family. Say goodbye to Michael and get over it.
I guess to correct myself, it's better than the less preferred sequels like Curse, H2O, and Resurrection, but how much is that saying? John Carpenter has publicly called Rob Zombie a piece of shit, so it's safe to assume that there was a real aim here to undo what Zombie did, to make Michael less vicious, less chaotic, and bring his behavior and way of going about his murders back to a style that's more true to the character. It's like the writers were so concerned with staying true to form that they forgot to come up with anything new or interesting. So Zombie had a more vicious interpretation of Michael Myers. Is that a crime in 2007? It worked. It was scary and interesting. Halloween 2007 is the kind of film I'll catch on television while I'm shifting through the channels and watch for like 5 minutes thinking I'm going to change the channel eventually because I've seen it a million times. But then I get sucked in and end up watching the entire fucking thing. Maybe I'm a minority on this, but you know what else bothers me about Halloween 2018? Well, lots of things, but I'll try to keep it organized. The characters blow. Matter of fact, they're either too boring or in certain instances, too effectively comical. How about this scene with this little kid? The comedy goes way overboard. Michael Myers comes out of the closet, real original concept there, by the way, and this 10-year-old kid's just like, oh shit, and he dips out. And that was after 5 minutes of witty shit talk and humor that actually was so funny, it starts to feel more like a comedy. Like by the time Michael Myers comes on screen, you're not even really in the mood to be scared. The vibe and tonality shifts way too often to maintain any eeriness or spookiness, if you know what I mean. Every time we spend a moment with a character before they're about to be killed, there's some kind of humor going on. The dad's a goofball. The cops are even humorous. I grow really tired of the family shitting on Laurie Strode. Like, oh, your friends were murdered 30 fucking years ago. You're old and crazy. Get over it. I'm really not thrilled to see Laurie Strode fight Michael Myers. It doesn't feel like the biggest payoff in the world. I also don't like seeing anybody like really go toe-to-toe with Michael. Like, it's not an action flick. Like, he's stronger than you. He's a murderer. He's gonna fucking slash everybody up. And what was the purpose of them doing away with the idea that Laurie Strode is Michael's sister? I think the idea of a murderer who wants to kill off his own bloodline for some unexplained reason is pretty scary. While we're on the subject, why pretend all the sequels never happened? Why not just pretend the 90s sequels never happened? Sure, none of the sequels are brilliant, only the original is brilliant, but I don't think many Halloween fans think Part 2 and Part 4 are anything to throw away. Like, what was so horrifically wrong wrong with those. All in all, the only thing Halloween 2018 really has to offer, in my opinion, is a return to form. It sort of has a similar look to the original. It reminds me of the original. Michael looks the way he did in the original. He operates the same way he did in the original. We get it. The consensus seems to be that Zombie took Michael Myers way too over the top, and you don't need to be so crazy and vicious and over the top to make a good Halloween film. While I guess I can't really argue with that way of looking at it, his film was still scarier. While 2018's Halloween is a sequel that prides itself on staying true to the similar attributes of the original, but offers nothing new in the process and isn't scary. I'm Savo, and that's just my opinion, but if you agree, maybe this is the channel for you, so subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time right here on Savo Central.